Well, welcome to the newest edition of Materia Medica Mondays with me, Stephanie Georgiev, your host and instructor for the online course, and there's several of them, for living pharmacy from seed to body to soul. And during the month of June, when these podcasts post, want to remind you that we are going to be exploring botanical medicines that are particularly good for skin health. And if after these podcasts you are feeling inspired, you can always go to the Living Pharmacy School on Teachable, and I have a special mini course just for the month of June on every aspect of skin health and wellness. You'll learn about anatomy and physiology, the different energetic paradigms for understanding the skin. So we look at traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, anthroposophical medicine, and the Galenic eclectic tradition. And then, of course, the good part, we go through all the different herbs, plants, nutritional programs, supplements, you name it, for health of the skin. So make sure to check that out, and also make sure to subscribe to my Substack. We will also be having a new feature. Every Friday, I'm going to have Confessions of a White-Haired Herbalist, and it'll be an essay on my reflections of late night observations of the world of botanical medicine. And so without further ado, we're going to look at a plant that has been used for centuries successfully and became a little bit controversial basically in the 1980s and 1990s. And this herb, this plant, is called Comfrey. Now, the botanical name for Comfrey is Symphytum officinale. And if you ever see the term officinale in a Latin binomial for a plant, it means that it is officially recognized for the pharmacopoeia, which is sort of like the index or encyclopedia for botanical medicines that are recognized as botanical medicines. So it's plants, but they're recognized for their medicinal qualities. Now, way back in the Dark Ages, before my hair turned white, we used this herb all the time in naturopathic school, and nobody seemed to die. But after a while, then it was like, don't use this internally. You can only use it externally. And we'll talk a little bit about that later on in this episode. But comfrey is one of the most fascinating plants in botanical medicine. And it's really interesting in terms of medicinal qualities, in that it's really good at topical tissue regeneration, but there's a strict quote-unquote safety profile. And I want you to know I'm biased, so just understand that it's perfectly okay for children to own assault rifles, but heaven forbid you drink a cup of comfrey leaf tea. So anyways, there's strict safety profiles that make internal consumption, according to the research, highly hazardous. But the reason that it's really good skin healer is that it has something in it called allantone. And this is a chemical substance that is found in plants like aloe vera and other things. But basically what allantone, it's a nitrogenous organic compound that actually stimulates tissue repair on the skin. It's really interesting. It stimulates mitosis, which is the process of cell division, which accelerates natural tissue repair and speeds up the growth of healthy new cells. And one of the terms for this plant, specifically, I think it comes out of a merry old England, they called it bone set, because what they would do is they would take the root of comfrey. And just a little FYI, this is a wonderful plant to put in your garden if you just want to have nothing but comfrey, because it grows through rhizomes and it literally takes over and you will never be able to get rid of it. I think it's a beautiful plant, but just so you know. So by harvesting the root, it won't like kill the plant. But anyways, they would harvest the root and they would pound it out and use it to set bones. Okay, so that's why it was called bone set. But anyways, topically, it's really good at tissue repair, and it promotes rapid cell turnover, and it helps epithelial layers close over wounds more efficiently. It also softens keratin, and this is a tough protein in the skin, which allows dead skin to shed more easily while helping the skin to retain moisture. And it's really good at treating rough, dry, or irritated tissue. Now, what's also fascinating about comfrey, and particularly we see this in the leaf, alongside the allotonin, comfrey is very rich in something called mucilage, which in chemical terms is a complex polysaccharide. And basically it's slimy. And there's something really fun you can do, and it's also really healing, is you can take your comfrey leaves, fresh comfrey leaves, and basically slice them up in little ribbons. The chef term for that, or the kitchen term, is called chiffonade. But you basically roll up whatever it is you want to cut, specifically leaves, and then you just chop it into these very fine little ribbons. And you can put these comfrey chiffonades into some warm water, and you will grow gel. And it's rather quick. You wouldn't want to do this for longer than maybe 15, 20 minutes. And you can get this wonderful gel, which you can use topically. And that gel is what we call mucilage. And something you need to be careful of is that because comfrey is so effective at healing things from the outside, you don't want to use comfrey to apply to a deep open or unclean wound, because what you're going to do is encourage skin growth on top of the wound, and then underneath that is going to get infected. And if anybody has had a deep wound, or you're a diabetic and you cut yourself or something like that, usually the wound care is really highly involved, and often people have traveling nurses come to help heal things. And so that's what they want to make sure, is that the wound heals from the bottom up, and you don't want that. You don't want the skin to grow over a deep wound. You want it to heal from the bottom up. So comfrey isn't a good idea for these deep wounds, but for superficial wounds, little minor cuts and scrapes, it's fabulous. It's also wonderfully paired with calendula. And what you will see a lot in the market, you will see a combo of calendula and comfrey in terms of topical use. Now, the internal danger, which, started becoming a danger in the 80s, was something called pyrrolizidine alkaloids. And while Comfrey is incredible for external applications, taking it internally poses a severe health risk. And I just am legally required and morally required to tell you this. The danger stems from this specific class of secondary metabolites, which are these unsaturated pyrrolizid. Ever since I moved abroad, I can't pronounce anything anymore. I apologized to the Latin speakers. Pyrrolizidine alkaloids, and the proper names within Comfrey are symphytine and ecimidine and lazocarpinine. And when you take it internally, when you take Comfrey internally, these PAs are absorbed and processed by the liver, and liver enzymes metabolize them into highly reactive molecules called pyrroles, and this causes all sorts of things which have really fancy names. The best one I found was called hepatic sinusoidal obstruction syndrome. And these PAs bind to cellular proteins and DNA within endothelial cells lining the small blood vessels of the liver. And this causes damage, inflammation, and eventual blockage of these tiny veins, which causes liver failure. And there's also some research that says there's mutagenic and carcinogenic potentials. Now, this apparently is cumulative. So I think if you drink 1 cup of this tea in your entire life, this will not happen to you. But if you do have hepatitis, or you're an alcoholic, or you've been living in a toxic waste dump, and your liver is overwhelmed, then the Comfrey will push you over the edge. So it's just a reality of this problem, or these chemical structures. So just be careful. But this doesn't seem to be the issue with topical application. One of the great things about the world of botanical medicine is that if a plant is considered toxic for any reason, or is not advised for children or during pregnancy, you can always use the homeopathic dilution, which is mostly the energetic aspect of the plant and not the chemical aspect of the plant. And this is very much available for Comfrey. And what you will find in the homeopathic market is the remedy that is made from Comfrey is called symphytum. And this is something that I've used personally as well as in clinical practice, especially if people are having trouble with their bones or they've suffered a recent fracture. It's really good when people break something like a toe, where you really can't set it, but it needs healing. And so symphytum really helps with that. And also it just speeds up the healing if you do have a regular fracture, or let's say you receive something like a hip replacement or a knee replacement or some sort of dental stuff. You want to take symphytum to speed up the healing. So, this is available as an internal remedy with no cautions whatsoever. Now, Comfrey is, as I said before, the Latin binomial for Comfrey is Symphytum officinale. And it's part of the Boragacinaceae family, and that's also called the borage or forget-me-not family. And there's all kinds of names that show you what it's used for. And the common names are mainly, it's mostly comfrey. I've never seen this in products or even on seed packets, but that's just me. The common names are knit bone, bone set, bruisewort, slippery root, and consound. And comfrey is a robust, hardy, herbaceous perennial, and it's native to Europe and parts of Asia. But it has very much been naturalized extensively through North America. And basically, the Europeans, it never occurred to Europeans when they started colonizing the Americas that there were plants growing there. So they brought a lot of plants with them. And in a very short period of time, basically altered the entire ecosystem of North and South America. And comfrey is part of that. It's a dense, sprawling clump, which it grows very nicely. It can grow from 2 to 4 feet in height and width. And when I was living at Camp Hill Village, Minnesota, they had an entire, like, massive lawn, basically, next to some of their farm, and it was all comfrey. And the leaves kind of look like furry chard. They do have kind of a point to them. And the borage signature of this plant is that the entire plant, stems and leaves, is covered from this stiff, bristly, prickle-like hairs. And it feels kind of like sandpaper. The stems are stout, and the flowers, which I think are really pretty, they kind of look like skullcap flowers, and they're small, and they range in color from dull purple to rose to creamy white and pale. And the roots, they're very massive, deep branching taproot system. And the soil that is wonderful for growing these are really good to grow if you have a big tree that has a lot of shade. It grows really well in damp soils, and it's fine in shade, and it's just really a wonderful plant. It has, as I said before, this allantoin compound in it, which makes it so healing. It's got mucilage, it has tannins in it, and there's all sorts of different varieties. There's the officinale and the uplandicum, which I think is a fun name. And what's interesting when you look at the commercial producers, and again, this is mostly grown for the market in terms of external use. So you see a lot of it in body products and things like that. But the most of it is grown in Eastern Europe. It's grown in Poland and Hungary, Bulgaria and Romania. And they're also major distributors in the Pacific Northwest. And the big growers give to things like Star West Botanicals and Mountain Rose Herbs. And then we find it in small scale artisanal farms. And what's also wonderful about this plant is that it's used as a tea. You make a good tea out of the leaves, and you can put this on your compost piles. You can use it as a soil preparator. When you put your garden to bed in the autumn, this is a wonderful thing to sprinkle on the soil before everything starts freezing. So I hope you come to really appreciate this incredible plant for everything that it brings, and just to remember externally for minor cuts and bruises. This is a wonderful plant, and you can find it extensively in your health food section of whatever store or pharmacy you're going to. And if you would like to take it internally, the homeopathic remedy is a wonderful alternative. And it's really a great, great gift to us by nature. So this is Stephanie Georgiev saying thank you so much for spending your valuable time with me. Make sure to check the links in the program notes. And until our next episode,